Sims Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble. He's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught!
Denver! Unbelievable!
And welcome to the fourth down fiasco!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football, brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp is the sports bookie of all sports bookies, and when we say that, we mean that they've got all the sports bookies in their sports books. So that's BetMGM, that's Bet365, FanDuel, Caesars, all the big names in the sports betting industry. You can go through BetStamp, that's signupexpert.com/fiasco. Place a $10 bet with any of the sports bookies that they have underneath that tab, and go win you some money, because we got nothing but good takes on this show. We're not responsible if you lose money, but we are responsible if you win. With that, I have my co-hosts, the two rising stars of the podcast industry, the tyrannical titan Tanner Vinsky, and the delicious Danny Weber.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, we getting weird on this pod today, baby.
Wow.
How are you, fellas?
I'm much better now.
Yeah, my nickname wasn't as good, but I'll take it,
I'm sorry, Tanner. I used to write these down, and then we've gotten so good at doing all the other stuff that I stopped writing them down. So maybe I'll write down some nicknames for y'all moving forward.
Just chat GPT it.
I'm sure they can give me plenty.
Yeah.
But with that, it is fourth down, goal to go. We got plenty of awesome stuff to talk about because, college football championship just played, as well as some playoff stuff from the NFL. So we'll start with the CFP championship. Danny, congratulations. Kind of. You're kind of in Ohio State. State of Ohio got a dub. So that's kind of big. How are we feeling?
I feel great. I just like that Ohio State just wins championships when they decide to change the playoff format. That's the only time they win.
Hey, winning a championship is winning a championship.
That's true.
It doesn't matter how you do it, doesn't matter how you get there. As long as the refs don't help you, which they didn't, then you're good.
Then you're good. Why? Is college the only legit football now?
Honestly, it is crazy to me that college refs are significantly better than NFL refs and get paid like a third of the price.
It happens. College sports are just better than a lot of American professional sports.
This is true. Yeah. But I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch the national championship game because I was still butthurt that OSU beat my Longhorns. Hook 'em, baby. But I will say the implications of the college football playoff were on full display in this matchup because you had OSU, who was the 8th seed, Notre Dame, who was the 7th, facing off to be champions. And I think that it's really just a microcosm of what the whole point in the CFP was supposed to be, was to allow teams to – it's okay if you lose one or two games over the course of your season, as long as you have a competitive schedule and you're beating down the teams you're supposed to be beating down. Then you have a chance to compete for a national championship game. And I remember growing up, it was so annoying, especially during those really good OU-UT years, because it would be like us and OU would both be 12-1, and but then Alabama would be undefeated, and so Alabama would get in, and then they'd be like, coin flip, who's gonna go play now? And so I like the
BCS algorithm.
Yeah, I like now that teams get the opportunity to fight for that opportunity.
I agree. I liked when they expanded it to 4 teams in 2015, but everyone as soon as they released it, they're like, 4?
Yeah.
They're like, you have 5 power conferences. Like, how are you gonna leave a power conference out?
Yeah.
And I'm surprised it took them 10 years to expand it, which is strange, but hey,
I think we hit the sweet spot, though. I like
12.
Yeah, I think 12 is great, because the top 10 teams are the top 10 teams. Normally, your top 10 for the most part are pretty undisputable. And then 11 and 12, congratulations. Your school gets an extra party weekend because you're going to get your ass whooped by whoever 1 and 2 are. But go have fun, kiddo.
Hey, a playoff game's a playoff game.
Exactly. I mean, look, I went to a shit college for college football. So if my team was the 11th or 12th team that snuck in and got their ass whooped week 1, I would still be drunk that Saturday night having a ball.
You'd probably still be drunk that Saturday night anyways, but still.
Yeah. Especially at the
But no, yeah, I agree. The playoff scenario worked out great. OSU Notre Dame, it seemed like it was going to be a blowout. It was like 21-7 at one point. Then it was like 28-7. And I was like, all right, this can happen.
Ohio State took their foot off the gas.
I blame the commentators. There was a commentator jinx. They were like, Notre Dame needs a turnover. They're like, but OSU, it's hard to get turnovers. They've had 5 lost fumbles all season. Very next play, Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, 10, 15, 20 yards, getting ready to cut up field. A beautiful punch out by Notre Dame, recovered by Notre Dame. And the entire momentum of the second part of the third quarter and fourth quarter switched to Notre Dame. However, the college kicking, I feel like, is very subpar across all of college. And Notre Dame doinked a field goal. That would have set them up for a better chance at a comeback. So, yeah. It was a blowout until that fumble, and then of course Notre Dame had to miss a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't ever close enough for me to feel worried on Ohio State's behalf. But
if Notre Dame would have got that field goal or that touchdown instead of settling for a field goal attempt, it would have made it an 8-point game.
Yeah, then things would have gotten spicy. But I don't think that they ever even really reached spice, to be quite honest.
No.
But, again, a really good opportunity for Ohio State and for other schools to, have a real fighting chance at a national championship because, you get these teams like Ohio State that have a gauntlet of a schedule during the regular season. Same with a lot of the SEC teams will have a gauntlet of a schedule. But then you drop 2 games. All of a sudden now you're in a bowl game instead of in the, college football player for championship game, whatever. And so I like the way that it's set up currently. Danny, you did mention that you had some tweaks you would make if you want to.
Yeah, so as soon as they kind of released it, everyone kind of had their own opinion on it, and especially after the first round of the new expansion playoffs finished, people were curious on how Oregon 13-0, beautiful season, their second round game goes against Ohio State, who normally wouldn't be an 8 seed. But Oregon just got an unlucky draw where Boise State is a 3 seed as a group of 5 school. And Penn State had to play SMU and Boise State to get to the semifinals, where Oregon had to play Ohio State in their first playoff game. So it's there's always some tweaks you can do.
For sure.
But Tanner made a point before we started talking, and he can elaborate on it, but he kind of said well, the Vikings went 14-2 or 13-3 this year or whatever it was, and still had to play in the wild card game.
We also found out, though, that the Vikings were the most fraudulent 14-win team ever.
That's true. But I do think the CFP should follow the NFL reorganization of seeds playing each other when it happens, where now it's they have a bracket and whatever happens. It's like college basketball.
Yeah.
The one plays the 16, then the one plays the 9 or the 8 seed, etc.
Yeah. But
I believe, the number 1 seed should play the lowest remaining seed. They shouldn't be screwed by just bracket placement.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, I get you.
The CFP committee already announced saying that there are tweaks to be made. So
yeah, I mean, it's the first year rolling out the 12-team playoff. Regardless, it was a shit ton of fun. And again, aside from the 11 and 12 seeds, most of those games, for the most part, were pretty close and pretty explosive, pretty exciting. So I think overall it's been a really good decision from the NCAA to do this.
No, yeah. But props to Ohio State for losing to Michigan their last week and then coming as the 8th seed and stomping Tennessee, the 9 seed, stomping the number 1 seed, put a nice beating on Texas, and then capping it off, beating Notre Dame for the championship game.
That Texas Ohio game, that score looks a little bit more lopsided.
It would have been 21-14 without that extra touchdown.
Correct, yeah, but without the what was that, a fumble 6? I don't think it was a
fumble 6.
Yeah. So,
but
cool. Any last thoughts on the college football championship game before we move to the NFL, fellas?
Tanner, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, Tanner.
I'm not going to be happy until they do it as like a March Madness bracket, where we have 64 teams. Yeah.
Well, what is it?
Then I'll be happy with the playoffs.
The Division 2 does what, 32 teams?
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
And it's always,
that is awesome.
It's always like 4 teams.
I think it's a terrible idea. I mean, you can't have people play 5 playoff games in a row. Like, they're just going to not football, but it would be funny.
And also, like, if we're doing, what is that? You said we'll just do 32 for this. You're going to have teams that are outside the top 25 going up against Georgia, going up against Ohio State, Oregon, Texas.
UMBC beat Virginia that one year, right? So to say that Ball State couldn't beat Ohio State,
Yeah, but I think it's a little different once the playoffs hit because guys are a little bit more locked in. Like, what was
for sure.
What was the team that the FBS team that beat one of the ranked teams this year? Who was that? They were a Division I AA. They ended up beating one of the teams in the college football playoff.
Was it Northern Illinois?
Yeah.
They're Mac. They're Mac. Don't diss on the Mac.
No. It was what was
Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, okay, that was it.
Yeah, but they're on the Mac. Kent State, baby.
Yeah, Notre Dame went into that game like, we're Notre Dame. It's gonna be fine.
That Notre Dame win got them a bid to the Mountain West.
As it should. Go there.
Mountain West more prestigious than the MAC. I kind of felt like those were always just both this conference.
Like the Spider-Man.
The Mountain West had a 3 seed this year, so.
I guess, yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess with the Pac-12 being killed, that probably makes more sense.
But I did lie a little bit about the FCF bracket. I thought it was bigger. They might have shrunk it, but it's 16 teams.
Oh, okay. 16's fine. 32's
or is it 16?
Crowded.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Give me 64. I want to see
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. No,
I was going to say, you're trying to see University of North Texas get smacked by Texas. Is that what you want?
It's 24 teams. I apologize. There's 8 bye teams. 8 teams get a bye, and then there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 other teams playing the first round.
24 wouldn't work because then the 25th ranked team's going to be like, are you fucking serious?
If you're the 25th ranked team, like Colorado, get out.
Yeah, I mean, we can always boot Colorado out of the discussion because, I don't like the Buffs.
Well, they're going to be bad now that Deion's going to coach the Cowboys,
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into NFL discussions now. So, divisional round of the NFL playoffs. I mean, we got all of these right with the exception of Washington, Detroit, I do believe.
I picked the Rams.
I think I picked the Rams too.
I think we all picked
we all picked the Rams. I picked Baltimore. You guys both picked Buffalo. We all picked Detroit. Buffalo. So we actually didn't do very well at all.
Tanner did bad.
I did real bad. I got Kansas City right.
We got 50-50.
Man. Well, we'll start with the most depressing game on the docket. Houston at Kansas City. Yeah.
There was a lot of noise coming out of this game, especially from coaches and players afterwards.
Dude, the whistle, I know that we try our best not to say that Kansas City just gets whatever they want from the refs, but this game does not help that narrative because, dude, people were sneezing on Patrick Mahomes and getting 15-yard penalties. It was disgusting. Absolute referee masterclass.
And I hate that one unnecessary roughness when he had 10 yards to himself on the right side of the field to just walk out of bounds. And instead he stops and cuts back towards the middle of the field, sees two defenders and just falls.
Yeah,
and then
I'm sorry.
They hit each other.
If you're gonna fake the sideline and come back in at that point, there should be some sort of like additional amendment to the rule that's like, if you fake like you're going down or you fake like you're going out of bounds and then come back in, you're free game. Like you are a available player to hit.
And then also there was the really late slide too, and that's one too where it's like, I mean, what do you want defenders to do? Like, how are they going to play the game?
Yeah.
The thing is, they nicked Mahomes, but they drilled each other.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
And then the other dumb thing, when he flopped and slowed down before he stepped out of bounds. He was running out of bounds, looked back and stopped before stepping out of bounds just to get hit and go. Ugh.
That didn't get called though, right?
No, luckily it did not, because the ref wasn't getting paid.
So yeah, it's
he's had that called plenty of times before, where he will slow down.
And I think as long as refs aren't calling it, I think that's going to get it to stop, right? Like that's the main thing is like you can't give them the whistle like you do in basketball, right? Yeah. Because then you're going to get, and like I've said before, Mahomes is really bad about it, but I mean, Josh Allen has always been the worst about it. Josh Allen, who is, this massive human being, is going to flop. He plays the exact same way Joel Embiid does in that situation where, you get a pinky on you and you're going to go flying 10 feet over. So as long as refs,
the linebacker 2 plays before.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As long as refs aren't calling it, as long as they're not actually giving them the whistle for that, that's just going to stop it naturally, right? Because then it's like players are going to stop doing it. It's whenever you're providing them the whistle and rewarding them for doing it, that's when it becomes a massive issue because then everyone starts doing it.
Right.
I will say I've never seen Allen flop on the sideline. It's usually like after
he definitely has.
Has he? I've missed it.
100%.
Because the ones I've always seen is he'll release the ball and get like tapped in his shoulder and be like, Woof.
Josh Allen's got a really great PR team on the internet.
That's good.
That he does.
That's good.
They are working overtime constantly for that.
No, yeah, Mahomes, you breathe on him, and he's like, ah.
And I think everyone's going to focus on the Kansas City side of it, but there was a lot of pretty egregious calls this weekend, especially on the Saturday slot of games. Sunday was a little bit better. I mean, the OPI on the Bills. The DPI that should have been an OPI in the Bills-Ravens game. That was egregious.
They did make up for it, though, on that one crosser the next drive when Mark Andrews just shoved the defensive Bills player to the ground and got wide open.
Yeah, and again, it's the officiating as an all-round has just been horrific. It just needs to be better. And I do like... And again, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy. I don't think it's rigged for the Chiefs, any of that. But I do like that DeMeco Ryans and the Texans did come out and said, like, well, we have to play against the refs because that's going to show the NFL more than anything that your employees are pissed off about it. It isn't just your consumers. It's your employees who are also upset. So you need to do it. And if that's the case, just why are we not using the sky cams? Why aren't we using, foul reviews? Why aren't we doing these tools that we have set in place? They're there for a reason. Why are we picking and choosing? Just utilize them and call the correct plays. And it's going to fix everything.
For the most part, refereeing could be almost fully automated if they wanted to.
The Alliance of American Football League, the AAF or whatever it was that came out before the USFL, they got it right. And no one's taking it from them. They had a dude sitting up in the booth with an Xbox 360 controller looking at every single play with a headset on. And he would be like, nope, wrong spot. And the rest would go over and move the ball. Or he'd be like, hey, you missed that. And they'd pick the flag up or they'd throw the flag. It's like, How?
Truly, it's
so easy.
It's so simple. It's so easy.
And they made a whole show on it about how this dude was using an Xbox 360 controller. It's like, in the NFL, it's like they have extra rest during the playoffs to help with specific calls, but the specific calls don't happen.
Yeah.
Because they're so dumb. It's like, I feel like we talk about the same thing every week. The officials are just bad.
Especially when it comes to the KC games, for sure. But refs aside, I do want to say that man, this was a brutal game for the Texans, who, their offense really wasn't that bad. They were able to move the ball, but it would just be, they'd be moving the ball, and then, they'd get hit with a really bad penalty, or, huh?
Weird.
Weird, right? or they would
miss a field goal.
Instead have, back-to-back incompletions just at the wrong time, and now they're stranded in no man's land on the 40, where it's too far to kick a field goal, but it feels too short to punt. And the
thing that killed them this game was just it was a special teams disaster class by Houston. They missed two extra points. They missed the field goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just terrible special teams management. And you just had the huge swing plays that the Kansas City Chiefs have gotten. I mean, having Spags as the defensive coordinator, I mean, it's the main reason the Chiefs keep winning Super Bowls and they keep winning the playoffs. They've just had one of the best defensive minds in football as their DC, and he won't take another job for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like, just go be a head coach somewhere, and it's actually going to harm the Chiefs if he leaves. He's one of the major pillars to why they continuously win, because they have consistently had game-breaking plays on defense. And that's why people always call it witchcraft and all this random stuff, because they're like, look at these special teams plays, look at these defensive plays, like these are so fluky and out of nowhere. And it's no, this team is just constructed so well defensively and is coached so well defensively that they get these massive swing plays. And if Spags wasn't there, you would see the Chiefs suffer greatly from that. And I think even if the Texans got all the correct calls, they got everything going their way, I still think they were just simply outcoached, and they just had the Chiefs really just played a consistently good game. I mean, they didn't make any mistakes. They didn't mess up really, and it was clean. And the Texans game side, it was not a clean game by them.
Yeah. It's really annoying because it's like Kansas has played the exact same way against every team this season. It is stay clean on offense, minimize the amount of interceptions. You also probably don't get a ton of touchdowns, but that's okay. The one or two that you get per game is going to be fine, because the defense is going to hold them to 14 points, and it's going to be an ugly, grinded out game that they're going to end up winning 23-14. And it's been like that the whole season.
And even then, the Texans only scored 12. They got a safety at the very end.
In garbage time, yeah.
That was a whole nother conspiracy right there. It was an unnecessary safety, but the line was set at 9.5.
Well, you heard Al Michaels cheer for it because you could tell what side he took the line on. Al Michaels was like, he's going up. He was like so excited.
We knew where his money was.
Yeah.
Yeah, his money was with Betstamp, which you can check them out at /.
I will say it was a weird safety to take, but I do think it was the right call. And I think it was the right call in that moment still, though, because there's so many things that could go wrong punting out of your end zone, right? There's just so many things that could go 11.
Wrong. It wasn't out of the end zone. You had to run backwards 10 yards.
Well, but let's say you do punt and it gets blocked and it gets returned for a touchdown. Now you're down by 1 score instead of being down by 2 scores. If you just run out the back of the end zone, you're down by 9, you're up by 2 scores. They have to score, get an onside, and score again, right?
Yeah. There was a lot of scoring already being done and then the onside happening immediately following.
Yeah, but there's fluky things that can happen, right? You get the punt, like let's say they block the punt, they get a touchdown, then they get the onside, they recover the onside, they have enough time to run one play, they get the Hail Mary play, and they win. Now you run out the back of the end zone, and they're down by 9 with that little time left on the clock, they can't win. They don't have enough time to win the game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I just think that their special teams coordinator was playing chess when no one else was on the other side of the board.
But that adds to why they win, right? Like, you have to constantly be at the top of your level, and you have to constantly think in those ways. You're not going to continuously win playoff games. You minimize risks. If you minimize risks in the playoffs, you're going to win, and that's what Kansas City does. And it's boring most of the time. Like, they're not a very fun roster to watch. Really, I mean, like, the first 2 Chiefs Super Bowls, they were kind of exciting to watch. Like, they had a high-power offense. Since then, they have not been entertaining to watch at all. They have been
horrible all year.
Yeah, they have been a very boring team to watch. But it's winning them games, so why stop, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Patriots. Most of the Patriots Super Bowls were extremely boring, but there's this revisionist history that, Tom Brady and the Patriots, they played ethical football, and they were so much fun to watch. And, at least they were like, they're so dominant that it's great to watch. Whereas with Mahomes, he's a crybaby. It's like, dude, it's the same fucking thing. Like, everybody's just looking at it differently.
Bill Belichick used to send spies to go film people's practices the week before the Super Bowl. Tom Brady deflated balls. Like, it was not ethical hoops out there, okay?
No. But all I'm hearing is that the NFL is rigged and they wanted the under. That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But the honest question, though, if the Chiefs three-peat, does Andy Reid retire because he'd be one of the most decorated head coaches? And then does Meg step into that head coaching spot? Maybe that's why he hasn't left.
I think at this point, Reid can retire whenever. He has cemented himself as one of the best coaches of all time. And if he does get the three-peat, I think it makes it easier for him. It's hard with those really decorated coaches because they just love ball and they just want to be surrounded by football and they don't want to stop doing it. I mean, that's why Tom Brady got a divorce. He just genuinely couldn't get away from the football field.
That's why Bill Belichick also got a divorce.
Yeah, and also Bill Belichick. Like, yes, it would make sense to ride off in the sunset for Andy Reid and take the three-peat and be done with it. But, like, who knows? Like, he
might as well go for 4.
Yeah, right. He might as well be like, hey, Belichick's got more rings than me. I can get more rings than Belichick, right? Like,
especially with Pat Mahomes being your quarterback. I mean, if you're a coach, that's what I'm going for. I'm like, hey, look, I got this guy on contract for they still have him for like 8 more years or whatever it is. Because that contract was massive.
Yeah, they gave him a 10-year deal.
Yeah. But enough Chiefs Texans, and wallowing in our depression.
Yeah, let's talk about the good games.
Let's talk about the other depression.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's talk about how the entire state of Michigan is incredibly depressed between Ohio State winning the national championship game and the Detroit Lions losing to the Washington Commies. I think
besides Max Crosby.
It was already a done deal. Jaden Daniels winning Rookie of the Year because he won his playoff game and Bo Nix didn't. But this puts him in a completely different pedigree now of NFC Championship game, rookie season on a team that had a losing record the year before. Is looking good for Jaden Daniels.
It's one of the best. Could be one of the best rookie seasons.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't choke in the Super Bowl, he might have the best rookie season any quarterback has ever had.
Oh, no, I think at this point he has. Just genuinely. I mean, he made the NFC Championship game, and all the other rookie quarterbacks who have done that have had a top 5 defense. Mm-hmm. The Washington Commanders were ranked as a 17th defense this year. I mean,
they are just shooting people out. It's just, can you outscore me? No, you can't.
Winning the games. Like, Ben Roethlisberger before had the most impressive rookie season. Rookie Big Ben was, like, good, but he was still pretty mediocre. And, like, they just had a dominant defense. Jaden Daniels, honestly, at this point, I think you can argue Jaden Daniels is a top 6, top 7 QB in the league.
Yeah.
Like, the guys behind him, I mean, like, who would you really argue behind, like, the obvious top 4, like Stafford? After that, like, shit, I would take Jaden Daniels over Herbert. I'd take Jaden Daniels over CJ Stroud, over Jordan Love, right? Like,
I saw a stat. I didn't fact check it, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems pretty legit, at least from the one side. So the Commanders have 4 games this year where they did not punt or have a single turnover on offense. It said that was more times in their career than like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and like Eli Manning like combined.
that's crazy.
And that's not just Jaden Daniels. Yeah, that's like almost 50% because he throws and runs the ball. But it's like no wide receiver fumbled and lost the ball. No running back fumbled and lost the ball. Like they had fumbles, obviously, but they recovered them all in those games.
Well, and, I will say at least a guy like Scary Terry, he's never really been a fumble-prone guy, which, is helpful to have. Brian Robinson Jr. has never really been a fumble-prone guy. Austin Eckler had some issues, but it seems like he's really tamed it as well. So, you get it's really valuable to have players who hold on to the ball because – to your point, Danny, yeah, half of it is on the quarterback, especially if you have a dual threat who runs and passes. Half the turnovers are going to be on your quarterback. But to have a bunch of your other guys, being able to take care of the ball, that's huge. Because then it truly comes down to Jaden Daniels. If you can take care of the ball, we're good. Because nobody else on the team is going to fumble or anything like that. If you take care of the ball, we're good. And that is something that really no other quarterback in the NFL, for the most part, has. You can pick on probably about 2 or 3 of them, but for a rookie quarterback to have that is so nice. That is such a luxury.
Yeah, and then the effort, like it's just so easy for them to go get 3 yards of play, 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah,
it's like it's so hard to stop.
Mm-hmm. And dude, I mean, Jaden Daniels made some throws, man, that Tanner, to your point, he looked like a fringe top 5, 6 or 7 maybe quarterback, where he was making some throws where I was like, how did you fit that ball in there? There was one where he dropped it in between the high safety and whichever corner was covering, and I think it was Scary Terry on the catch, but just like you just see the ball go up. And it's just like the arc that he had to put. It looked like Steph Curry shooting like one of those bullshit shots in warm-ups. Where it's like, is that ball ever going to come down? And it did. It right in between 2 guys. And it was beautiful. And I'm just like, rookie quarterbacks should not be making that throw, dude.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't.
Did you guys see the article on how Jaden Daniel trains?
Yeah, that he does everything on what is it, like 1.5 or whatever.
He basically got booed out of Arizona State with how bad he played. Transferred to LSU and won the starting job. And this company, I feel like it was a Dutch company. It was meant for soccer. They were going kind of defunct, bankrupt, and they just started sending emails to any team imaginable. And LSU was like, all right, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And Jaden Daniels popped off after he did it. Mm-hmm. And even, what was it? One of the championship game last year, or maybe the game that solidified his Heisman last year, he got cleared to play from a concussion the Saturday before the game. Like the game was on Saturday, he got cleared in the morning. But because he was able to use the VR headset all week and basically still practice, he put up like 450 yards of offense without practicing a single day. And it makes so much sense for any player to do it. You're playing the game at almost 2 times speed.
Yeah.
Like if you can slow a game down, it makes it
it's
so easier.
It's just giving you reps. I mean, it's just showing like you have routes being run. You're sitting there in the pocket, and you're just being able to analyze the field, and you're able to analyze any coverage you need to do, and it's going to help you in game speed because you're going to look at the defense. You're going to be like, okay, I mean, I've been sitting in my room for the last 3 days, and I've been analyzing on how to beat cover 3, and I've seen that if I run at this speed, if I get this ball out quickly enough to the flat, they're going to be able to break off for run in the middle because there's not any support in the middle. Everybody's playing back. And it's smart. It makes sense that, that's could be abused for future quarterbacks to pick up their game speed quicker and help them transition quicker to the NFL, like Jaden Daniels has.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see what other players and quarterbacks adapt to that next year.
I bet quite a few of them do, because, it just makes a ton of sense. It's just like how, when you think about reflex times, the two sports that have by far the highest reflex time, baseball and then like Formula One racing, and those guys, baseball players don't do the VR stuff, but the Formula One guys do. They do so much VR stuff to work on their reflexes and make sure that they're, quick and crisp and all that stuff. And baseball has their own set of stuff specifically for reflexes that they work on with guys. And, I think that that's brilliant. Putting it, hey, yeah, I'm going to play football regardless, but I might as well practice at twice the speed. So then whenever everybody's going their actual speed, dude, I know exactly what's going on at all times. That's
to your point. One of the F1 teams invited Tyreek Hill to the Miami race when they hosted it for the first time. And all the drivers do their trainers will hold tennis balls in their hand and they have to catch it. Mm-hmm. And the driver competed against Tyreek Hill. And you'd think Tyreek Hill has quick reaction times, right? He's quick, he's fast. F1 driver head and shoulders above Tyreek Hill. It was crazy. Yeah. Tyreek Hill couldn't even catch the ball sometime. It bounced. And it's the F1 drivers are boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But more of the Lions' sadness before we jump ahead. Ben Johnson decided to wait an extra year instead of going to the Commanders, who they just got beat by. Now it's to go to the Bears.
Da Bears.
The Lions OC said, I don't want to go to the Commanders. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah, they're basketball guys. They don't know anything about football.
Yeah. Apparently they do.
Yeah.
I do also want to shout Tanner out because he has said all season that Jared Goff is not a ceiling raiser, and that if you make Jared Goff try to be an actual quarterback and actually put a team on his back, he can't do it. And I believe last episode you had basically said that he was just Sam Darnold 2.0 or whatever it was, and I thought it was harsh, but after watching this game, you might have been right.
Sam Darnold and Jared Goff have the same issue. Both exceptionally talented, both can absolutely pick you apart when they're on their game. They, more than any other quarterback, struggle tremendously with their mental gap compared to the top NFL talent. When Sam Darnold is off, he is off and he plays terribly. He gets in his own head, his confidence shakes, and he does terribly. Jared Goff had the same problem here because he was making mistakes that rookie quarterbacks make. That one throw where he just threw it over when he had he had a guy down in the flat and he just threw it over trying to make a throw downfield, and it's there's no reason for you to be trying to make that throw in that situation. But since he had already thrown a pick, he was just getting in his own head and he just kept trying to win the game with his arm. And honestly, they were getting kind of a game flow coming out when he went down in that game. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back in and it's, again, your ceiling's higher with Jared Goff than anybody else in that Lions QB room. But the issue is your ceiling is hard capped. If you start falling behind, if the game script doesn't go exactly the way you plan it to go, Jared Goff will crumble. And that's why I've always been hesitant to say Jared Goff's a top 10 QB. People were talking about Jared Goff being better than for the first couple of weeks, people were saying Jared Goff was better than Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. People were high on Jared Goff this year. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is Jared Goff, when the offense is clicking, can look like a top 5 QB, but it will never be able to play that consistently. And if you disrupt his game style, which the Commanders did perfectly, he will fall apart and he will crumble. And I think the Lions still could win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, but they're going to have to work for it, and it's going to be difficult. It's the same way I feel about Philadelphia when we get into them here in a second. But
everything has to go right in order for you to win, versus there are certain quarterbacks in this league, like your Patrick Mahomes, that the game script can be flipped on its head and he's like, okay, cool. Let me just go do
the game.
Pat Mahomes things real quick, or we haven't really seen it on the same level with Lamar or Josh, but either one of those guys can improvise a lot better than Jared Goff can. They have different intangibles that allow them to do so. Because at the end of the day, if Jared Goff tries to beat you with his legs, dude, if I'm a defensive coordinator, please, Jared Goff, beat me with your legs. That is, I
would love to see that happen.
I welcome it with open arms. But game script gets flipped on its head for Lamar or Josh, then it's like, well, shit. Now I got to deal with one guy who runs a 4-3 and one guy who's built like a tank that will stiff arm half of my linebackers into the dirt. And Jared Goff just doesn't have that aspect to his game. He just doesn't. I mean, that's God-given ability.
Yeah,
but
the NFL's changed. We've seen from the last generation of quarterbacks, it was all pocket passers.
Yeah, I think it used to be a lot easier for system quarterbacks like your Jared Goffs of the world to find success. I mean, we saw it with Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl. He always was a system quarterback, was a backup quarterback the year that they won. But, the NFL looked a little bit different back then. You had guys like freaking Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring in this world. So I think that a long time ago it was easier for guys like that or Joe Flacco, whoever, to go win a Super Bowl as a system quarterback. But yeah, the game has changed so much now that if you don't have a quarterback that isn't somewhat mobile, it's really hard to do a lot.
Yeah, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, they're kind of like us in like the 2020 housing market. They just kind of missed their era, just a little bit.
Pain. Yeah, I'm not going to afford a house anytime soon.
Rip. Let's talk about a quarterback that only has one part of his game that's the complete opposite of Jared Goff.
Oh, I was going to say, let's talk about people who can't afford housing where they're at and talk about Los Angeles, but it's probably still too soon for that one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm referring only to their housing market. I'm not trying to refer to the other shit going down, but...
you and Tanner are going to take over for a second. I'm going to phone call.
Okay. But yeah, Los Angeles falls to the Eagles. Final score being 28-22, Philly. I watched this with one of our fan base fiasco people, Michaela Burwitz, and I hate the Eagles so much.
I mean, they almost blew it. They were so close. I mean,
they did. Oh, dude, I was cheering so hard for it. I was hate watching the shit out of it.
I mean, Matt Stafford, that final drive was clinical. I mean, he was moving down the field, and then their offensive line just fell apart in that last sequence. They took the delay a game or the false start, and then they had that brutal sack on that. They go to fourth down, free rush almost immediately. Stafford has no time to react, has to just get the ball to where he thinks Puka is going to be, and he puts it close, but he didn't have enough time to actually get it where it needed to be.
Yeah, line up his feet like he needed to. Yeah, it was one of those games of like when you look at the final box score, the thing that separated the Rams from the Eagles and the reason why they lost were the two fumbles. Philly, they had a couple of fumbles but got some lucky bounces where they bounced right back to them, and that's just football. Because the Eagles also fumbled twice, both times bounced right back to the person it was supposed to, whereas LA fumbled twice and both times it bounced to the other team. It just happens.
No, it's unfortunate, and I mean they really did. That Rams team is scary. I think in the coming years, with what they have on that defensive front, they had 17 sacks in only 2 playoff games. That's unreal. That defense is going to be monstrous if they just get a couple more pieces there, and if they get a better O-line for Stafford, This is a scary roster.
No, yeah. The Rams did well. I also think that if this were a game in a dome, I think if these two teams were actually just facing each other just to face each other, Rams win. It was very much so to the Eagles' advantage that, the sky was falling down basically with all the snow, because they are a run first and run heavy team, whereas the Rams have a balanced attack. They've got some good legs on the team, but they throw a lot. And whenever you're dealing with snow and everything else, it happens. And, they also play a little bit looser as well because they are not a run first team. I feel like run first teams work so heavily on protect the ball at all times. Whereas, if you're more of a high flying passing team, you don't think of that kind of stuff quite as much. And so, I think that if there wasn't snow to be dealt with and we weren't talking about slippery conditions, you definitely don't have one of the two fumbles, because the one from Kyron was literally the ball just plopped out. That was just the ball was wet. There's nothing else you can do except for the ball was wet. And I think if this were in dry conditions, the Rams win this game personally. But
definitely, and it would have been cool to see too if they did, because then they would have been hosting the AFC or the NFC Championship game. They would have been a higher seed over the Commanders, which you don't often see a 4 seed hosting a championship game, but unfortunately that wasn't in the cards. And for Philly's side, Saquon Barkley is a cheat code.
Dude, he is an animal.
Yeah, having that O-line talent, you have that O-line talent, you have the receivers you do in Philadelphia, you have that defense, and then you just get to add a top 2 running back for free, essentially. Yeah. It's stupid.
What did you text us the other day?
Let me find it real quick.
You said, where did it go?
I hope that the GM for the Giants faces war crimes for this.
Definitely.
205 yards.
I love Tanner. This is Tanner's quote. He said, "I love seeing the top running backs go to the best teams on discount deals because their position is undervalued. It's really cool for the parity of the sport."
Yeah. And it almost worked out perfectly, because if Baltimore would have won too, literally that happened to those two teams and they'd both be in a championship game because they were great rosters that were able to land a cheap running back.
Yeah.
So all I hear is have a good O-line and a good running back, and you're fine, right? With a running quarterback.
I
guess so, yeah.
I am worried about the Eagles moving forward, though. Jalen Hurts, once again, just looked terrible in this playoff game. They were scared to let him do anything with his arm. They did not want him throwing the ball. I think he's a hamper. I think he's an anchor at the QB position. Again, the same thing goes. The same thing I said this week. If the Commanders get ahead early, the Eagles lose. If they have to win with Jalen Hurts' arm, they're not going to win. But if they can just run down the Commanders' throat, and Commanders have to score on every single drive, and
Saquon's going for 200 yards plus on the ground.
Exactly. Yeah. Then no, but I worry about Jalen Hurts. I don't think if the game script doesn't go, it's the same thing I said about Jared Goff. If the game script doesn't go exactly the way you want it to go, I don't believe in Jalen Hurts to bail you out.
Yeah. It's also some salt in the wound too, as the Cowboys fan on the show right now, that my former offensive and defensive coordinator are both playing in the NFC Championship game right now. Because we were told that Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore were the issues with the team. That offense was just too predictable with Kellen, and that Dan Quinn just wasn't smart enough as a DC. And now they're facing off against each other in the NFC Championship. So at Jerry Jones. Any last thoughts on LA Philly before we go to what was, and we called it, the best game of the weekend?
If the Commanders stop the run, they win. That's
pretty much.
I missed what you guys said before, but that's my thought.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right, that takes us to Baltimore, Buffalo. God, this was a good game. This was every bit as good as we said it was going to be. I do feel for Mark Andrews, though, a guy who
deserves to be getting death threats.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game at the end of the day. Even someone like Pat Mahomes that flops around on the field that we get mad at, nobody deserves death threats in the NFL, bro. Calm down.
Did you guys see what was trending on Twitter?
No.
Yesterday? I'm not going to say. I'll text it to you guys. Okay. But it was wild.
I can imagine. But props to the Bills fan for donating to Mark Andrews' charity after hearing that he was receiving death threats.
But yeah, this game was absolutely nuts. I thought quarterback for quarterback, I thought Lamar played better than Josh Allen did. But,
to an extent.
With the exception of the one interception and then the fumble. I keep forgetting about the fumble. He
had a fumble and an interception while Josh Allen had no turnovers.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that's exactly the point we made.
Yeah. You needed to play clean football.
Yep, needed to play clean football, and you didn't do that.
And you know what's funny is we were talking about we've just been talking about the game script, and yeah, right? Isn't that insane?
Yeah, we're not saying that on the show.
I was absolutely not going to say that out loud.
We have very few limits on the show, but that is one of them. So
yeah, that's insanity that was a thing. But we were just saying about the game script stuff, right? Lamar did show that he can work when the game script isn't going his way, because he drove down the field and set him up for a 2-point conversion to tie this game. Mm-hmm. And, it bounces out of Andrew's hands. But, he had a terrible first half and brought it back to life in the second half and played out of his mind. And I still think even if they score there, I do think the Bills go and win anyways. There was like a minute 40 left with 2 timeouts. The Bills were getting in field goal range, They had
93 seconds.
Yeah, they were going to make it. And I think a lot of I'm so worried about the Bills moving forward because their defense was horrible this game. They did great getting those turnovers early on, but it felt really like Baltimore was just shooting themselves in the foot. And, that third quarter came around, they just stopped blitzing Lamar for whatever reason and were letting him dissect the defense. And, dude, if they are not going to send the blitz at Mahomes, oh, God, man.
Their whole second half, they changed the game plan.
I know, and they just started
all they did in the second half was run the ball. They were just playing to hold the lead, and that is one of the worst things you can do for an entire half of football.
And if they're going to play that way in Arrowhead, they're screwed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that, best case scenario right now, all the Bills came out of the game healthy. So, I think that's one of the few good things that can come from playing keep away ball, basically.
Did they lose their safety in the first play of the game?
Did they?
He came back though, right?
I thought he got rolled out with a concussion. I don't remember. But I do want to say, Hallbog, pick a new 2-point conversion play. You ran the same one 6 times in a row. It's worked twice.
But that
in Harbaugh's defense, though, it was the right play call. It worked.
The play call did work. Andrews just dropped it.
Yeah. But he's also dropped 3 of the other ones too. So maybe pick a different tight end to throw the ball to.
Yeah, have Isaiah Likely do it.
Yeah, how about Likely, your actual receiving tight end?
Yeah.
It's he's ran the same 2-point conversion play 6 times in a row. 3 of them have been dropped by Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Taylor Rapp did get injured early with a hip injury, and Christian Benford was in concussion protocol. It looks like he's fine to play. Benford, Taylor Rapp, and who's the other one? I just saw their name. There's 2 defensive guys, Taylor Rapp and somebody else. They're the only ones that are on the injury list, but they might be available next week.
Gotcha.
And I mean, when you're playing a team like Baltimore that's known for its physicality, to walk away with limited to no injuries going into the AFC Championship game, that's a blessing,
Good. Agreed.
Any final thoughts on this game before we do our pick'ems?
I don't believe so.
No.
Alrighty. Meteor game. Washington, Philadelphia, would be totally fine if the Chinese just took over the U.S. before this game ever occurred. It's where I'm at. Who do y'all have?
I think the spread of Philadelphia at -6 is insane.
Wild. That's disrespectful.
That's crazy.
I've got Washington. I think that there's been some holes, especially in the Eagles secondary, looking specifically at Bradbury and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They've been getting cooked all season by high-flying offenses. They do really well against balanced attacks or run-heavy attacks because they got some beef up front. But their DB's been getting cooked, and we've come to learn that with Jaden Daniels, that is like the one offense that you gotta have some dudes in the backfield who can do what they need to do to stop big chunk plays. And so yeah, I think that it's going to be one of those things. If Washington gets up quick, Tanner, I'm with you. Jalen Hurts cannot throw them into a victory.
I will say I am absolutely rooting for Washington.
That's not what I
dream. My dream Super Bowl at this point is Bills Washington. If we can have that happen, I'm ecstatic. I don't care. At that point, we are good. The bad men are gone. I mean, I don't like DC
hurt you anymore.
but like at least I like Jaden Daniels, right?
Yeah.
I just the Philadelphia roster is just so freaking talented, and they got home field advantage again. And I just freaking Saquon Barkley's the best or second best running back in the league. And I think if they can just run, and the issue is Washington's defense kind of sucks. Like they're not that great. And I think if they just run the ball, I see a hard time for Washington to do it. I mean, Washington just really has to play perfectly, and I think they can. I genuinely do.
A couple times already.
They have, but I trust in Philly more right at this moment. But I'm going to be rooting against them so hard. I do not want anything good for West New Jersey.
Yeah, we hate West New Jersey.
True. I will say both of them took a blow on both sides of the ball. One player in each. The Eagles, he's questionable. Quinion Mitchell, their DB. If he's out, that'll be great for Jordan's point of Daniels being able to throw the ball. However, the Commanders lost one of their guards, Sam Cosme, to an ACL injury.
Pain.
So how good is his replacement going to be?
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
But if I'm the Commanders and I win the toss, I'm taking the ball first. Screw that deferring. I'm getting the ball and going to score. Because you can score on this Eagles defense. They beat them once this year. They put up 36 points against them.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. The Eagles, they have a much better defense than the Commanders, yes, but I think that their defense is not set up to handle a team like the Commanders because they are we stop the run first type of team, and Washington's like, what run?
Yeah. I probably backfire, but I like the Commanders. Give me the Commanders just because I want a fun Super Bowl. I wish the Chiefs and Bills were playing first, so then I would know who I root for. Because I don't want like a Chiefs-Washington Super Bowl.
Because then it's going to be Chiefs.
Dude, I will take a Chiefs-Washington Super Bowl any day of the week over a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. We have just watched Chiefs-Eagle.
Yeah. If we had the same Super Bowl back-to-back, it'd be like, that's pointless.
Like, I do not want to see that again. Oh.
No, that was bad.
Yeah. So me and Danny are commies. Are you also a commie in this one, or are you picking Philly even though you don't like them?
I'm going to pick Philly and hope that I'm wrong.
Fair enough. Hey, again, we can just pray that the nuclear warheads hit right as the coin toss happens.
True.
It was a pleasure knowing you boys. All right, then that's the AFC Championship game. Buffalo, Kansas City.
I want Buffalo. But you can't bet against the Chiefs.
It's not who you want. It's who do you think is going to win. Not who do you want.
I don't want
it. Again, same situation. Rooting my ass off for the Bills. Want the Bills to win. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I am too discouraged about the game that the Bills just had against Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Just the way they defensively planned that second half, the way they were playing conservatively, the way they were playing not to lose and not trying to win. They only had Josh Allen throw the ball 22 times, who's been their entire offense. Like, come on, what are we smoking? And I just think that, and I do think the Chiefs line up well against the Bills. I think that they can stop. I think they can limit Allen. I don't think many teams can, but I think the Chiefs can. So I lean Kansas City here. I will not be rooting for them, but I will pick them.
Yeah.
I'm picking on the opposite way of Tanner. I'm going with my heart and not the logical reason. So my logical reason is following Tanner, but my heart wants me to go Buffalo, so I'm going Buffalo. But realistically, it is the opposite for both games. If I was going with stats, it's Eagles Chiefs, but I don't want to say that.
God,
Commies and Bills.
Chiefs Super Bowl.
I want a fun Super Bowl where we can just enjoy the commercials, have fun, eat unhealthy snacks, and not have to be pissed off watching a football game on teams that we don't even care about.
Dude, I would be pissed watching that the whole time.
Yeah, I'd be hate watching.
Yeah, that would be a meteor game for sure. I'm going to do the same as Tanner. Hear me out. So I think that the Chiefs defense is designed to stop a quarterback more like Josh Allen than to stop a quarterback more like Lamar Jackson. We just saw the Chiefs go up against CJ Stroud, which, I'm not saying that they're the same quarterback, but there is overlap between how Stroud plays and how Josh Allen plays. And I think that that's exactly what the Chiefs want. They want a guy who, when he needs to, he can take off and run and maybe stiff arm a couple of people, but is going to look to pass first. They want that. They've got the secondary and also the rush, like the defensive edge, properly aligned for guys like that, and just hasn't been a good track history with the Bills playing the Chiefs in the playoffs. So
in the regular season, yes,
but we're not talking about this is big boy football now. This is where boys become men, and I think that the power of friendship dies today or this weekend.
I did see another crazy stat. In the last 10 games that the Bills and Chiefs have played, they're both 5-5. And they have both scored and given up 147 points or something like that. It is identical. It's weird.
Yeah, that's great and all, but Kansas City will win by 1 because of a late hit on Patrick Mahomes that puts them in field goal range, and time's going to expire.
That's not PTSD.
Everybody's favorite misogynist, Harrison Butker, is going to come back from the dead and kick that field goal and win the game.
So basically the 2023 AFC Championship game.
Yes, basically that. It's going to be a repeat. And we're going to be on this pod next week, bitching and moaning the whole time.
Dude, I can't believe that Mahomes has not been to an AFC Championship game in his career. That's come on now.
Wait, say that again?
He has not been to an AFC Championship game in his career. He's been every single season. He's been a starter.
Well, it helps when you're drafted to a already solid team.
Yeah, but it's still wild. We're never going to see something like that again.
We did. Brady made it to 8 straight.
Yeah, but Brady didn't start his career going to 8 straight.
No, but Brady made it to 8 straight.
True.
Regardless, I'm tired of the Chiefs, damn it. I'm tired. I am so tired of Patrick Mahomes. I am tired of Travis Kelce. I'm tired of Taylor Swift. I'm tired of Patrick Mahomes' weird brother that's constantly doing TikToks in the background of these games that they're winning off of bullshit calls. I'm tired of the referees wearing yellow and red to every game, even though they're actually not. I'm tired of it all. I'm tired of Andy Reid's chicken nugget commercial. I am tired of the Chiefs so much. Which is funny because 3 years ago I loved them. I was like, "Yay, go Kansas City!" But
dude, we all were.
But you're the hero long enough that you become the villain. You know what is that Batman phrase? It's that.
Just watch the European Football League.
Hey, which we will have plenty of updates on, especially probably next week, because after we recap, we won't be able to do pick'ems because it'll be Pro Bowl time and nobody gives a shit about the Pro Bowl.
But hey, shout out ESPN and Adam Schefter for shouting out the European League of Football.
Hey,
with the Jack Del Rio signing.
Yeah, a whole lot of gang shit. Whole lot of gang shit.
That was crazy.
They're Google search some good traction this year.
The Google search for the European League of Football after that tweet went up 7,000%.
Ooh, dude, the Jack Del Rio signing is the best thing for the European League of Football. Like that is the
people are like
single best
Paris Musketeers. Yeah.
So, but we'll talk plenty about ELF next week whenever we have more time to. Any final thoughts, fellas, before we go into the AFC and NFC Championship weekend? I'm cheering for the Meteor, personally. Nuclear warheads.
I hate both of these games.
Bring back the USSR. You know, Xi Jinping.
I don't
do work, Xi Jinping. You know what I'm saying?
My boy.
My boy's
Xi Jinping. What are we doing?
Yeah. I just hope if the Chiefs three-peat, Travis Kelce retires, Andy Reid retires, Patrick Mahomes magically calls him quits.
5 more.
Hey, Mahomes can retire. He can retire early. Full of luck.
He's not giving up that money. What do you mean?
Full of better luck career.
Yeah, this is the NFL. They're not giving up money. It's crazy.
Be good. You know, fingers crossed.
Well, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been the Fourth Down Fiasco brought to you by BetStamp. You can, again, place a $10 bet at signupexpert.com/fiasco. You can also follow us on social media. We are at @4thdown_pod on Twitter and at 4th Down Fiasco on Instagram and the newly revived TikTok. And what else am I missing? Oh, yeah. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Pods, whatever it is that you listen to us on, because it's the best way for us to grow the show. With that, thanks so much. We will see y'all next week.
Hugs and kisses.
Peace.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.